Right now, somewhere on the internet, a video is going viral of a man carefully petting a wild bison. Not because the bison asked, not because it was safe, just because the bison was there, and the man's hand was there, and some ancient part of his brain said, "Touch it." You felt this. You've seen a stranger's dog and had to physically stop yourself from reaching out. You've passed a cat on a fence and slowed down. You've watched a video of a tiny hedgehog and felt something in your chest that is genuinely difficult to explain. A tightness, a pulling, an almost painful need to hold it. Scientists have a word for this. Several words, actually, and when you trace them back far enough, they don't lead to cuteness or kindness or even love. They lead somewhere much older, much stranger, and completely buried inside your biology. Let's start with something nobody tells you about the human brain. You have a visual system that is constantly, automatically, scanning everything around you for a very specific set of features. Round face, large eyes relative to the face, small nose, short limbs, soft proportions, chubby cheeks. The moment your brain detects these features, in anything, it triggers a response. More precisely, your brain releases dopamine. Your heart rate changes. Your hands want to reach out. You feel a version of the same neurological pull that parents feel toward newborn infants, because that's exactly what this system was built for. Infants, human babies are, biologically speaking, among the most helpless creatures on Earth. A newborn cannot regulate its own temperature, cannot feed itself, cannot move toward safety, cannot do almost anything. And yet it needs years of intensive care to survive, so your brain evolved a brutal override. A hardwired reflex that short-circuits rational thought and forces emotional response. One look at infant features, those round proportions, those huge eyes, and your brain says, protect this, care for this. Do not let this die. The problem is, your brain never learned to be specific about it. In 1943, an Austrian ethologist named Konrad Lorenz described what he called Kindchenschema, roughly translated as baby schema. He noticed that animals across species shared a cluster of physical traits that triggered nurturing responses in other animals. Round faces, big eyes, small mouths, soft bodies, and he noticed something that nobody had formally said before. Humans respond to these features in animals almost exactly the way they respond to human infants. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between a human baby and a puppy and a duckling and a baby panda and a cartoon character, designed with the same proportions. If the features are there, the response fires. The dopamine releases. The hands reach out. This is why pet owners talk to their dogs in the same high-pitched voice they use with babies. It's why certain dog breeds with flatter faces and larger eyes became more popular. It's why animated characters, toys, and even car designs use rounded proportions to trigger feelings of warmth and safety. You're not choosing to find these things cute. Your visual cortex is running a 200,000-year-old detection program, and it doesn't come with an off switch. But there's a second layer to this, and it goes even deeper. Touch humans are, among all primates, extraordinary touchers. Grooming, picking through fur, removing parasites, making physical contact was one of the primary social bonding mechanisms for our ancestors. Among chimpanzees, grooming is currency. It builds alliances, resolves conflicts, establishes trust, and regulates stress hormones. It is how the group holds itself together. Your ancestors did the same thing. When you stroke an animal, or even imagine doing it, your brain releases oxytocin. The same neurochemical involved in mother-infant bonding, in romantic attachment, in deep social trust. Your heart rate drops. Your cortisol levels fall. Your nervous system slides toward calm. Petting something isn't just enjoyable. It is physiologically restorative. Your brain treats it as proof that everything is okay, that you are safe, connected, part of a group that is not currently being eaten. And here is where it gets stranger. The same response fires whether you're petting your own dog or an animal you've never met, whether you're touching a cat or watching someone else touch a cat on a screen. Studies have shown that simply watching videos of cute animals lowers blood pressure and reduces stress hormones measurably. Your touch system is so ancient and so powerful that even the simulation of contact triggers the chemistry. But why does it extend to wild animals? To bison and sharks and lizards and spiders? Because of a third system, one that has almost nothing to do with cuteness. Biophilia. In 1984, biologist E.O. Wilson proposed that humans have an innate, biological drive to connect with other living things. Not just baby animals, all living things. Movement, breath, the signs of life. Your nervous system tracks them automatically, constantly, without your permission. For hundreds of thousands of years, your survival depended on reading living things. Which plants were safe? Which animals were dangerous? Which creatures could be useful? The humans who paid close attention to other species, who studied them, who understood their behavior, who felt drawn toward them, survived better than the ones who didn't. That attention became attraction. Your brain doesn't just notice living things. It is drawn to them. It wants to understand them, interact with them, close the distance. And for some people, closing the distance means touch. This is why humans are the only species that regularly seeks out contact with animals outside their own kind. Why we build zoos and wildlife sanctuaries and aquariums and spend billions of dollars to be near creatures that have no interest in being near us. Why a person will stand at a fence for 40 minutes watching a horse do nothing. Your brain is doing something very ancient. It is paying attention to life. It is cataloging it, studying it, building a relationship with it. The urge to pet is the physical expression of that attention. It is your hands trying to participate in what your eyes are already doing. And then there's what happens in the animal. Most animals, dogs especially, but also cats, horses, rabbits, and many others, show measurable physiological responses to being touched by humans. Heart rate drops, cortisol falls, oxytocin rises, the same cascade that happens in you, happening in them simultaneously. When you pet a dog and the dog leans into your hand, two nervous systems are regulating each other. Two stress response systems are dropping at the same time. Two ancient mammalian brains are sending each other the same signal. Safe, calm, not alone. This is why petting an animal before a stressful event measurably improves performance. Why hospital therapy dogs reduce pain scores. Why simply having a pet in the room during an argument reduces cardiovascular reactivity. The animal is not a prop. It is an active participant in your neurology. But there's one more piece. The animals we most want to touch are often the ones that cannot consent to being touched. Wild animals. Dangerous animals. Animals that are clearly indifferent to us, and this reveals something slightly uncomfortable. The urge to pet is not purely nurturing. Part of it is about control. Part of it is about the fantasy of connection. The idea that this wild thing, this indifferent creature, this bison standing on a highway would choose you, would accept you, would confirm that you are, in some deep way, safe and good enough that even the wilderness wants to be near you. The viral videos of people approaching wild animals are not stupidity. They are the Kynchin schema system and the biophilia system and the oxytocin system all firing together, louder than the rational brain's warnings. The hand reaches out before the brain finishes its sentence. Tonight, if a cat walks across the room, you will probably reach toward it. You won't think about why. You won't think about Konrad Lorenz or dopamine or 200,000 years of primate grooming. You won't think about oxytocin cascades or biophilia or the neurological architecture of your social bonding system. You'll just reach, and maybe the cat will let you. And for a few seconds, two nervous systems will find each other across the gap between species, and something very old and very quiet in your brain will say, "There, that's it." That's the thing.